All right, fellow architecture enthusiasts, welcome back to Space Shape Scale. Today we're diving deep into the foundations of modern architecture, tracing the evolution from the ornate past to the streamlined present. A world where design wasn't confined by rigid rules, but erupted in a riot of color, curve, and breathtaking innovation. This wasn't a futuristic fantasy, but a radical transformation that swept across Europe at the turn of the 20th century, birthing what we now call modern architecture. We're going to unpack some key styles often seen as early steps on the path to modernism. Proto-Modernism, the fascinating interplay of Art Nouveau and arts and crafts, the revolutionary spirit of the Vienna Secession, the vibrant explosion of Catalan Modernisme, and the powerful principle of functionalism. Each of these movements isn't just a chapter in history, they're essential stories about how visionary minds reshaped our built world. So let's get into it. Have you ever gazed at a building and felt it whisper stories of its time, its creators, its very soul? Well, today we're not just looking at structures. We're diving deep into the minds of the visionary architects who dared to dream beyond their era, literally sculpting the future in stone, steel, and glass. These are the unsung heroes, the rebels, the fathers of modernism, whose ideas continue to shape our built world today. You might be thinking, why should I care about architects from over a century ago? Perhaps you're struggling to see the beauty beyond traditional art forms, or you're simply intimidated by anything labeled modernist. But trust me, by the end of this journey, you'll see why appreciating their wonders is not just sightseeing, it's soul-searching too. So let's peel back the pretty facade and uncover the philosophical depths laden with symbolism that define this incredible period. Before we meet our architectural legends, let's set the stage. What exactly is modernism? It's a term that covers a vast cultural and artistic movement that exploded across the Western world from the late 19th through the early 20th centuries. This wasn't just a shift in building styles, it was a profound reaction to the Industrial Revolution and its emphasis on mass production and standardization. Artists and designers yearned for a return to authenticity, meaning, and a deeper connection to nature. Modernism emphasized experimentation, abstraction, and subjective experience, driven by a desire to challenge tradition and express new sensibilities. The movement took a critical stance towards the Enlightenment concept of rationalism and rejected the idea of absolute originality. It was influenced by widespread technological innovation, industrialization, urbanization, and the cultural and geopolitical shifts that occurred after 2800 World War I. The movement sought to break down the traditional distinction between fine arts like painting and sculpture and the applied or decorative arts. In essence, it aimed to create a total work of art, or Gesamtkunstwerk, encompassing a variety of media to create spiritually uplifting environments. The first stirrings of change, Proto-Modernism. Think of Proto-Modernism as the architectural equivalent of a deep rumbling before an earthquake. It's not the full quake yet, but it's the undeniable sign that massive forces are at play, laying the groundwork for a complete transformation. This was a period where certain architects began to challenge the ornate, often copied historical styles of the 19th century, styles crowded with turrets, elaborate bracketing, and steep gables borrowed from Gothic or Queen Anne influences. Our story begins not with an architect, but with a gardener. Joseph Paxton, 1803 to 1865. The gardener who planted modernism. Imagine London in 1851. The world was about to witness something entirely unprecedented, the Crystal Palace. This colossal structure, designed by Joseph Paxton, was revolutionary. Why? Because it was made almost entirely of prefabricated cast iron and glass panels. Paxton, originally a gardener, drew inspiration from greenhouses and nature's own engineering, applying these principles to create a building of unprecedented scale and speed of construction. Figures like Joseph Paxton, with his groundbreaking Crystal Palace, 1851, stand out here. While deeply rooted in Victorian engineering, his pioneering use of iron and glass in modular structures truly prefigured the openness and industrial expression that would define modernism. Paxton's work was a testament to the idea that architecture could be something radically new, built with modern materials and techniques, rather than simply mimicking the past. It was a tangible manifestation of a growing dissatisfaction with merely reproducing historical forms. The Crystal Palace was assembled in just 9 months, using standardized parts and mass fabrication. It was lightweight, efficient, and endlessly adaptable, a stark contrast to the heavy, ornamented masonry buildings of its time. This wasn't just an engineering marvel, it was a proto-modernist vision. It anticipated key elements of modern architecture, such as glass curtain walls, open-plan interiors flooded with light, and the very concept of architecture as a functional, repeatable system. Paxton, through his innovative use of industrial materials, shattered architectural conventions and laid a critical foundation for the modern era, proving that architecture could be both a technological statement and a cultural manifesto. Though destroyed by fire in 1936, its DNA lives on in everything from modern high-rises to contemporary greenhouses. Now let's talk about two movements that often get confused but represent distinct, yet related paths to a new aesthetic: Art Nouveau and the arts and crafts movement. Both emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries as a direct response to the perceived excesses of industrialization and the rise of mass production. They shared a common goal: to create art that was authentic, meaningful, and connected to nature. Art Nouveau, or New Art, was an international style that truly exploded across Western Europe and the United States from the 1880s until World War. It was characterized by an almost unruly embrace of the natural world, favoring sinuous lines, whiplash curves, and intricate details. Think of organic forms like flowers, leaves, and vines, dynamically expressed. Art Nouveau artists enthusiastically incorporated new materials like iron, glass, and ceramics, crafting innovative and unusual designs. A core objective was to break down the traditional hierarchy between fine arts, like painting and sculpture, and the applied arts. Famous examples like Hector Guimard's Paris Metro entrances or the jewelry of René Lalique truly embodied this expressive, imaginative, and evocative style. In contrast, the arts and crafts movement, born in England, championed a return to traditional craftsmanship and handmade production techniques. Led by figures like William Morris and John Ruskin, it was a reaction against the dehumanizing effects of the Industrial Revolution and a perceived decline in artistic standards due to mass-produced goods. Arts and crafts emphasize the intrinsic beauty of honest materials and the value of manual work. Think woodworking, metalworking, and weaving to create objects that were both beautiful and useful. So, what's the visual difference? While both drew inspiration from nature, the arts and crafts movement often had a more nuts and bolts look, featuring many right angles and a sturdy, handcrafted feel. Art Nouveau, on the other hand, pushed the organic forms to a more extreme, almost exaggerated curvilinear aesthetic, with rounded corners and flowing, dynamic shapes. Imagine comparing a solid, rectilinear, stickly chair, arts and crafts, to the elaborate flowing lines of a Tiffany lamp base, Art Nouveau. Even William Morris, an arts and crafts pioneer, used botanical motifs. But the overall feeling was different, more grounded, less ethereal than Art Nouveau's whiplash lines. Both movements, despite their differences, were crucial for modernism. Art Nouveau, though often highly ornate, played a role in paving the way by seeking to eliminate superfluous ornament in its later phases and emphasizing function over form. The arts and crafts movement's focus on material honesty, local craftsmanship, and functionality directly aligned with principles that early modernism would adopt. Our journey continues north to industrial Glasgow, a city also seeking cultural and artistic identity at the end of the 19th century. Charles Rennie Mackintosh, 1868 to 1928, bridging Art Nouveau and modernism. Charles Rennie Mackintosh stands as a unique figure, a genius who designed between 1897 and 1909 and became a landmark in the evolution of modern architecture. When he won the commission to design the Glasgow School of Art in 1896 at just 28 years old, he sought to create a building that reflected the needs and spirit of its time. looking fearlessly toward the future rather than mimicking historical styles. His design for the Glasgow School of Art was a masterful synthesis. Art Nouveau fluidity, incorporating graceful organic motifs and flowing ironwork. Arts and crafts principles, emphasizing honest materials, local craftsmanship, and the beauty of handmade details. Proto-Modernist clarity, featuring bold geometries, asymmetrical compositions, and an innovative approach to light and space that anticipated 20th century modern architecture. Mackintosh's mastery of natural light is a highlight, with enormous north-facing studio windows flooding spaces with soft, indirect light, perfect for artists. The exterior uses warm, rugged Scottish sandstone, grounding it in local geology, while exposed timber beams and wrought iron details celebrate traditional crafts. He was deeply influenced by Japonisme, evident in the building's clean lines, volumetric spaces, and the integration of structure and decoration. For Mackintosh, a building was more than shelter. It was a total work of art, Gesamtkunstwerk. He designed everything from structural details to light fixtures and furniture, creating a seamless visual language. This unity of function and poetry, place and purpose, is why the Glasgow School of Art is celebrated as the point where Art Nouveau truly met modernism. Though sadly damaged by fire in 2014 and 2018, the spirit of the school and the dedication to rebuild remain strong. His design for the Hill House, 1902-4, in Scotland also exemplifies his successful unification of fine and applied arts. Next, let's journey to Barcelona, where a truly unique and vibrant variant of Art Nouveau, known as Catalan Modernisme, flourished. This wasn't just an artistic trend, it was a powerful cultural assertion of Catalan identity during a period of political awakening called the Renaissance. Architects infused their buildings with local craft traditions, natural themes, and regional legends, transforming structures into symbols of a distinct Catalan spirit. This artistic movement emerged in the late 19th century and injected a powerful dose of color, creativity, and charisma into Barcelona's architecture. It celebrated dynamic shapes, vibrant colors, intricate details, and nature-inspired motifs, giving eye candy a whole new meaning. This movement also encompassed literature and painting. The leading figures of Catalan Modernisme are legendary: Antoni Gaudí, Lluís Domènech y Montaner, and Joseph Puig y Cadafalch. Their work is instantly recognizable for its ornate detailing, nature-inspired designs, and a profound desire to break from traditional forms, embracing asymmetry, dynamic shapes, and vibrant colors. 54. You'll see curvilinear elements echoing natural forms, intricate ironwork, and a lavish use of ceramic tiles. Antoni Gaudí, 1852 to 1926, the wizard of organic form. When it comes to Catalan Modernism, one name rolls off the tongue like poetry: Antoni Gaudí. He's been called the Brad Pitt of Catalan modernism, and his works are like stepping into another dimension, a fairy tale architecture with a dash of Alice in Wonderland. For Gaudí, nature was the supreme engineer and designer, and he famously declared, "Nothing is invented, for it's written in nature first." He believed that originality consists in returning to the origin, which for him meant embracing the logic and beauty inherent in the natural world. His work synthesizes structure, decoration, nature, and spirituality into a singular, timeless language. Let's explore some of his iconic works. Casa Vicens, 1883 to 1885. The genesis of a genius. His very first house, Casa Vicens, built when he was just 31, was a laboratory of ideas and a manifesto of the emerging Catalan Modernisme movement. It boldly broke from the sober neoclassical buildings of its era, fusing Moorish, Gothic, and Oriental influences with vibrant color and intricate craftsmanship. Its checkerboard ceramic tiles and lush floral motifs, along with sculptural chimneys, reveal Gaudí's early structural genius and holistic vision, where every inch was an opportunity for storytelling. Palau Güell, 1886 to 1890. Early exploration of organic forms. This was Gaudí's first residential building for his patron, Joseph Güell. According to UNESCO, the architecture of Palau Güell combined elements from the arts and crafts movement, symbolism, expressionism, and rationalism, and significantly influenced 20th century modernism. Gaudí integrated crafts like ceramics, stained glass, wrought ironwork, and carpentry directly into his architecture. Parc Güell, 1900 to 1914, a garden of dreams perched on the hills overlooking Barcelona. Parc Güell blurs the line between architecture and landscape, between the natural and the fantastical. Originally conceived as a luxury garden suburb inspired by the English garden cities movement, it became a public park, a vibrant tapestry of swirling mosaics, trencadís, playful sculptures, and sinuous pathways. Gaudí approached the park with the belief that nature was the supreme architect, integrating organic forms, symbolism, and spirituality, and adapting his designs to the terrain rather than altering it. Notable features include the hypostyle hall and the serpentine bench, both examples of his fusion of aesthetics and functionality. Casa Batlló, 1904 to 1906, the surreal masterpiece. Known affectionately by locals as the House of Bones, Casa Batlló is a surreal symphony where myth, nature, and architecture collide. It transformed an ordinary residence into a living organism, a fantastical dreamscape of curves, light, and color. The undulating dragon-like rooftop, skeletal balconies, and iridescent tiles immerse visitors in a mythic landscape where architecture comes alive. Gaudí masterfully controlled natural light and ventilation through a central light well-tiled in varying shades of blue, creating an ethereal, almost underwater environment. This masterpiece of Catalan Modernisme even anticipates surrealism decades before Dalí. It's a global symbol of architectural imagination and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Casa Milà, La Pedrera, 1906 to 1912. The breathing stone Casa Milà, or La Pedrera, the stone quarry, is a radical architectural statement, an organic wave of stone that seems to breathe and ripple with life. It defied every convention of its time with its undulating limestone facade, wrought iron balconies twisting like vines, and surreal rooftop chimneys. Gaudí's innovation here included an iron beam and pillar skeleton that freed up interior walls, allowing for flexible, open-plan living, a concept far ahead of its time. The building evokes marine and geological forms, with its sculptural rooftop resembling warriors or guardians. It also featured natural ventilation and passive solar lighting. Sagrada Família Schools, 1909. Humble yet revolutionary, tucked beside the monumental basilica, the Sagrada Família Schools demonstrate Gaudí's philosophy in its purest form. Architecture growing organically from function, climate, and material. Despite being built on a tight budget with simple materials like thin brick walls, it features undulating walls and a warped, catenary curved roof, designs that efficiently carried loads and resisted wind. This modest schoolhouse was a clear precursor to the fluid geometries he would later expand upon, anticipating modern shell structures and sustainable design decades ahead of mainstream thought. It is now a museum, preserving Gaudí's architectural principles in their most distilled forms. Sagrada Família, begun 1882. The eternal creation. Gaudí's life's work, the Basílica de la Sagrada Família, is more than just a church. It's an act of devotion cast in stone, a place where architecture, nature, and spirituality unite. When Gaudí took over in 1883, he transformed its conventional neo-Gothic design into a soaring expression of nature's forms and sacred geometry. Columns inspired by trees, hyperboloid vaults, and leaning columns distribute forces like trees in a forest. The building is infused with deep Catholic symbolism, from its nativity facade to its passion facade. Its ongoing construction, blending old-world craftsmanship with 21st century technology, is expected to complete its main towers by 2026, the centenary of Gaudí's death. Hotel attraction, 1908. New York's unbuilt organic skyscraper vision. This one is wild. Imagine Manhattan's skyline defined not by rigid angular towers, but by a soaring organic form, rising like a mystical plant or seashell. This was Gaudí's astonishing unbuilt vision for the hotel attraction in New York City. Commissioned in 1908, it was a concept so ahead of its time, it still reads like architectural science fiction, anticipating parametric design and curvilinear architecture decades before its time. He used physical models with weighted chains and mirrors to study how curves distributed force naturally, effectively designing a hyperbolic skyscraper without computers. Many see it as a direct ancestor to works by contemporary architects like Santiago Calatrava and Zaha Hadid. Luis Domènech y Montaner, 1850 to 1923, the master of theatrical expression. Alongside Gaudí, Luis Domènech y Montaner was another giant of Catalan Modernisme. A master architect, historian, and professor, his designs were deeply tied to Catalan symbolism and civic pride, embodying the Renaissance movement's push for Catalan identity. He left a legacy of over 30 buildings in Barcelona and Catalonia, and was Gaudí's teacher. His Palau de la Música Catalana, designed in 1905 and completed in 1908, is nothing short of stunning, a jewel of glass, ceramic, and sculpted stone, and perhaps the most theatrical expression of Catalan Modernism. It was conceived not just as a concert hall, but as a total work of art, Gesamtkunstwerk, where every tile, sculpture, and stained glass facet plays its part. The Palau ingeniously uses iron frame construction, allowing for wide-open spans, curved balconies, and vertical transparency, bathing the interior in natural light from its famous inverted stained glass dome resembling the sun. It's a symphony in stone and glass, where light sings and architecture listens. The Palau, along with his Hospital de Sant Pau, has been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Joseph Puig y Cadafalch, 1967 to 1956, the scholar of style. The third great architect of this era was Joseph Puig y Cadafalch, who also created more than 30 principal works during his life. His approach often blended medieval romanticism with industrial progress, deeply respecting Catalan heritage while boldly embracing modern design. His Casa Amatller, designed in 1900, is a striking example of this fusion. Located on Barcelona's famous Block of Discord, Illa de la Discordia, alongside Gaudí's Casa Batlló and Domènech's Montaner's Casa Leo Morera, it stood out with its unique stepped Flemish-style gable, a nod to Northern European architecture. The facade intricately weaves Gothic revival themes with delicate Art Nouveau details, embedding symbols of the patron's family, profession, and the broader Catalan identity into every carved stone and decorative tile. It's a cultural manifesto in brick and stone. Another notable work by Puig y Cadafalch is the Casa de les Punxes, a fairy tale residential building. Now let's pivot to Vienna, a city draped in opulent Baroque and Neo-Renaissance styles, a city bursting with intellectual and artistic ferment at the turn of the century. Yet beneath this grandeur, a quiet revolution was brewing, led by artists and architects who sought a style reflecting modern life and industrial materials. Here, a group of radical artists decided to break away from the conservative establishment, forming the Vienna Secession in 1897. This wasn't just a stylistic choice, it was a manifesto. Their famous motto, emblazoned on their iconic secession building, proclaims, "To every age its art, to art its freedom." The secessionists, including luminaries like Gustav Klimt, Joseph Hoffmann, Koloman Moser, and Otto Wagner, aimed to transcend the rigid distinctions between fine arts and applied arts, striving for a total work of art, or Gesamtkunstwerk, a complete artistically designed environment that unified painting, sculpture, architecture, and even the decorative and performing arts. Their architectural contributions were particularly groundbreaking. The Secession Building, designed by Joseph Maria Olbrich, a student of Otto Wagner, was a deliberate statement against historicism. It features pure geometric forms and a striking absence of the ornate historicist motifs that dominated Vienna's Ringstrasse. Its most recognizable feature? That gilded dome of intricate laurel leaves, affectionately known as the Golden Cabbage. The Vienna Secession is often considered the Austrian manifestation of Art Nouveau, or Jugendstil, as it was known in Germany. Like Art Nouveau, it drew heavily on nature, but often abstracted or stylized it. It also shared Art Nouveau's emphasis on international artistic exchange and the desire to democratize art, making it accessible to all. But where the Secession truly became a precursor to later modernism was in the work of Otto Wagner. His designs, particularly the Austrian Postal Savings Bank, 1904 to 1912, marked a significant shift. Otto Wagner, 1841 to 1918, the pioneer of rational beauty. Enter Otto Wagner, one of the world's most significant architects from this period. Wagner was a visionary who recognized that historicist architecture, fixated on the past, contradicted the political, economic, and social dynamics of his time. He believed that architecture should reflect its era and its purpose, famously stating, "Something impractical cannot be beautiful." For Wagner, beauty stemmed from rational design, clear structure, and the honest expression of modern materials. His appointment as a professor at the Academy of Fine Arts Vienna in 1894 was groundbreaking. He cultivated a team of modern architects, the Wagner School, leading to the dissemination of his ideas, and he became a father figure to the Vienna Secession movement, which he joined in 1899. Wagner, along with his students Joseph Hoffmann and Joseph Maria Olbrich, formed this radical group that broke away from conservative artistic institutions, advocating for independent, avant-garde art and a dialogue between art and everyday life. Wagner's masterpiece and a defining landmark of Vienna's transition into modernism is the Austrian Postal Savings Bank, Postsparkasse, completed in 1906. This financial institution, typically a bastion of conservative taste, became a radical laboratory for steel, glass, and concrete. Instead of carved stone facades dripping with ornament, Wagner wrapped the building in sleek gray granite slabs, punctuated by exposed aluminum bolts. These bolts weren't just decoration. They proudly revealed how the cladding was fixed, transforming a mere construction detail into an aesthetic statement. The Postsparkasse's stripped-back aesthetic, emphasis on utility, and use of industrial materials directly anticipated Bauhaus ideals of function and truth to materials. Wagner effectively gave permission to future generations of architects to embrace the intrinsic beauty of modern construction, influencing figures like Adolf Loos, who famously declared ornament is crime. Wagner showed that modern materials and clear engineering could symbolize trust and transparency more powerfully than old-world opulence. It was truly the bank of the future, not just for its innovation, but for embodying a new relationship between architecture, society, and technology. His other notable works included stations for the Vienna Metropolitan Railway and the Steinhof Church. Otto Wagner's aforementioned Austrian Postal Savings Bank is also a prime example of functionalist design, where structure, utility, and design converge to express the spirit of a new century, 49. He believed in material honesty and visible logic, exposing structural elements, bolts, and glass, ensuring nothing was hidden and everything intentional, 49. Later, figures like Le Corbusier would take this even further, famously declaring, "A house is a machine for living in," a stark illustration of pure functionalist thought. Finally, let's explore functionalism, the guiding principle that became a cornerstone of modern architecture. Form follows function. This maxim, famously coined by Louis Sullivan, argued that a building's design should be determined by its purpose and its place, rather than by borrowed historical motifs or excessive ornamentation. Functionalism was a direct counter-narrative to the decorative excesses that preceded it, including some aspects of Art Nouveau. While Art Nouveau brought Victorian excesses to a dramatic fin de siècle crescendo, its short-lived nature was partly due to modernism's burgeoning emphasis on function over form and the elimination of superfluous ornament. 30. Functionalist architects rejected elaborate, fussy facades in favor of clean, rational, and purpose-driven forms. Across the Atlantic, a new architectural language was emerging in booming American cities, fueled by invention and ambition. Louis Sullivan, 1856 to 1924. The father of skyscrapers. Louis Sullivan is undeniably one of the most vocal and pioneering figures in American modern architecture, often called the father of skyscrapers. His philosophy was distilled into his iconic maxim, form follows function. Sullivan believed that a building's shape should flow directly from its purpose, rejecting the imposition of historical styles onto modern needs. He envisioned an authentic American architectural language that rejected imported European styles in favor of new forms rooted in democratic ideals and organic principles. His influence is dramatically showcased in the Guaranty Building in Buffalo, New York, completed in 1896. This skyscraper was a critical turning point because Sullivan designed it to honestly express its verticality. Thin vertical piers stretch uninterrupted from the base to the ornate cornice, drawing the eye upward and emphasizing height. It was a departure from typical buildings that treated skyscrapers as stacked boxes, instead celebrating the new structural possibilities of the steel frame. What truly set Sullivan apart was his belief that embracing function didn't mean abandoning beauty. The Guaranty Building is clad in richly detailed terracotta tiles, adorned with intricate organic patterns, foliage, tendrils, spirals, that animate the surface like living skin. This wasn't superficial decoration. It was an integral part of the building's identity, tying back to Sullivan's deep belief that architecture should echo natural forms, creating what many called vertical poetry. The Wright Building, completed in 1891, is also cited as among the first skyscrapers in the world. Frank Lloyd Wright, 1867 to 1959, Sullivan's protege in the Prairie style. Sullivan's ideas were profoundly absorbed by his young draftsman, Frank Lloyd Wright. Wright was just 24 when he made significant creative contributions to Sullivan's designs, making their collaborations pivotal to the birth of American modernism. The Charnley-Norwood House, 1890s, and the Charnley-Persky House, 1891, stand as early laboratories for the ideas Wright would later crystallize in his famous Prairie-style homes. These modest residences radically broke from the ornate Victorian architecture of the time, introducing simplicity, clean geometry, and the seeds of an organic architectural philosophy. They featured open interior plans, replacing the boxy, compartmentalized rooms of Victorian houses. These homes flowed freely, encouraging modern family living. Horizontal emphasis. Long window courses and pronounced belt courses highlighted horizontality, a motif Wright would take to new extremes in his Prairie designs. Integration with the landscape. The houses didn't dominate their settings, but seemed to grow naturally from them, anticipating Wright's lifelong commitment to organic architecture. This collaboration marked a critical inflection point, as American residential design began to break free from European traditions, embracing functional planning and an honest expression of materials. The unfolding story of modernism. So as you can see, these distinct movements, Proto-Modernism, Art Nouveau, Arts and Crafts, Vienna Secession, and Catalan Modernism, each contributed a crucial piece to the puzzle of modernism. They challenged convention, embraced new materials, experimented with form and space, and sought an authenticity that reflected their changing times. Proto-Modernism laid the philosophical groundwork, questioning the very idea of merely copying the past. Arts and Crafts brought a renewed respect for materials, craftsmanship, and the beauty of the handmade, grounding design in honest production. Art Nouveau broke free from academic tradition with its fluid, nature-inspired forms and new materials, blurring the lines between art and daily life. The Vienna Secession pushed for artistic freedom, integration of all arts into a total work, and a bold embrace of geometric simplicity, directly anticipating the functionalist purity of later modern styles. Catalan Modernisme, though wildly ornate, integrated rigorous structural logic with innovative materials and expressed deep cultural identity, showcasing how even highly decorative styles could be fundamentally modern in their underlying principles. And finally, functionalism provided the driving principle. That form must follow purpose, stripping away the superfluous and laying bare the raw, honest truth of a building's reason for being. Together, these movements represent a powerful, multifaceted narrative of how architecture evolved from imitation to innovation, from ornament to essence. They weren't just styles, they were rebellions, manifestos, and visions that continue to shape the world we inhabit today. From Paxton's pioneering Crystal Palace, which dared to dream in glass and iron, to Wagner's rational temples of finance, stripping away the unnecessary to reveal truth in materials, we see the very foundations of modern architecture being laid. Sullivan and Wright redefined the skyscraper in the American home, rooting design in function and organic principles. And then there's the vibrant, fantastical world of Catalan Modernisme, with Gaudí, Domènech y Montaner, and Puig y Cadafalch, who imbued their structures with soul, nature, and a fierce sense of national identity. These architects weren't just building, they were rethinking, experimenting, and challenging every convention. They were asking, what if architecture could be alive? What if it could reflect the human spirit, not just human needs? What if it could transcend its time and speak to future generations? And the incredible answer is, they did it. They built monuments that continue to inspire, provoke, and enchant us. Their legacies remind us that architecture is a living, evolving art form, a powerful tool for social and technological transformation. It's a testament to creativity, resilience, and the enduring power of architectural vision. If this journey into the minds of these architectural titans has inspired you, if it's made you look at the buildings around you with new eyes, then you're truly beginning to appreciate the wonders of modernism. Don't forget to subscribe to Space Shape Scale for more cinematic stories of the world's most visionary architecture and the souls who dared to build it. Hit that like button, share this video with a fellow architecture lover, and let me know in the comments. Which of these architectural pioneers fascinates you the most and why? Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep appreciating the incredible power of the built world.